Blog Talk Radio.
Thank you for joining me here tonight on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I'm your hostess this evening. And the music you were listening to there at the beginning of the show is called Serenity One. It's by tonight's guest, Harold Grandstaff Moses. And I just want to extend a really warm welcome to everybody that's here tonight that's joining us, whether you're joining us for the first time or whether you're returning and because you've listened to the show before. And we are, by the way, streaming live in 3 additional places: TalkStream Live, Streamfinder, and 10, also known as Pair Encounters Network. And I welcome everyone listening through there as well, in addition to those that are listening through the podcast, such as TuneIn.com, iTunes, and through my YouTube page. I also just want to say thanks, everybody, for your patience. You know that I'm on the road right now, and so I'm doing a lot of adapting and a lot of adjusting right now with time frames and places and spaces and all kinds of great things. And those that wondered what happened to me last week, I had a little technical glitch going on and was offered up a space to use, and it turned out it had no internet, no cell phone reception, so it wasn't actually a very functional space for me. But I greatly appreciate Daniel Michael for stepping in and taking over the show and just doing a really great job with last week's guest. Here at Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour, I look at different ways that compassion exists in our lives, how to remove our blocks, resistances, frustrations, and more. And some weeks I will be discussing different aspects of how compassion is in our life, how it affects our life, and the different areas of compassion. Then some weeks I'm doing more exercises and practical implementations. So we did that recently through a show I did on chakras as well as a show I did on manifestation. You can catch those in the archive. And many times I have incredible guests on the show, which those that have been listening for a while have had the chance to experience how other things work with and complement compassion through those guests. And then, like tonight, I have another musical artist on. And last year, of course, I had some great musical artists on. Grammy nominee Stephen Halpern and also Peter Cater were on last year. And I'm just continuing to bring the lineup here. We had Bruce Ciccarelli on earlier this year. I've had Joe Matson on. Last week we had Craig Corellis on. And so this week we've got another guest that's just amazing for you. In my own work, what I do is focus on helping people find and use compassion in their everyday lives. And I've created the Genesis Clearing Statement, which if you've missed that, you can catch it in the archives. I've authored 4 books, the most recent being You, Me, Life, Dreams, and also the companion workbook for that. And then my first 2 books, Activating Compassion and its companion workbook. In addition, I've created the Compassion Tour, which is a multi-state nationwide tour, including workshops, retreats, seminars, book signings, and fundraising events. And you can follow those both on my website, which has all of the events listed, and then also on my event site, JessieAnnNicholsGeorge.eventbrite.com. And that's where a lot of the paid events, for example, the ones that I am doing this weekend, which is tomorrow and Sunday, you can definitely check that out. And following that, I'm going to be heading on out to the Black Hills of South Dakota, where we are going to be doing a hike into a vortex spot called Harney Peak. And that is definitely worth checking out if you're around that region. And then I'll be headed to the East Coast, and all my East Coast buddies out there, hey, I'm going to be back there through Maryland, Washington, D.C., Massachusetts. I'll be passing through Illinois on the way out, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, whole region, Connecticut. I'm going to be out there. So check it out and see where I'm going to be. And, hey, at least stop in and say hi, if nothing else, at one of the events. Just a reminder, if you enjoyed the show this evening, make certain you tell your friends and family about it. You know, I like to share it on my social media areas because it seems like almost always somebody comes through and says, I was just looking for something like this, or this is something that I was hoping to find information about and I couldn't. So you never know who you might be helping out in the process of, hey, just clicking that share button. And they can use the same link that you use to get into the live show and listen to it at their convenience, or they can, again, catch it on the podcast areas, iTunes, TuneIn.com, or my YouTube channel. And also they can check it out. All the archive shows are kept on my page of the Main Street Universe tab on my website, which is JessieAnnNicholsGeorge1.com. Now, those that have listened into the show before, you know that before I really get started in the show, I like to tap into a little thing called the 72 Names of God by Yehuda Berg. And I love Yehuda's work because, like mine, he takes the big complex concepts and he puts them into everyday language. So Yehuda's message tonight, and this, by the way, also goes on my page of the Main Street Universe tab on my website there, so you can go back and review through it over the week if you want and catch the message. But this week, the name of God he's dealing with is removing hatred. And his little message here is, I have seen the enemy, and they are us. And that's a quote by Pogo. The insight he gives on this is, all destruction, including even natural disasters, occurs for one reason: humanity's hatred toward our fellow beings. Kabbalah teaches that tornadoes, floods, earthquakes, and disease are born from the collective hatred that burns in our hearts. In truth, there is no such thing as a natural disaster. Despite what our insurance policies say, human behavior and the human heart are the sole determining factors as to what occurs in our environment and what transpires between nations. Here's what the ancient Kabbalists had to say on this matter. If a person witnesses any form of hatred on his own street or anywhere in the world, it means this person still has some measure of hatred lingering in his own soul. If we harbor even the slightest bit of hatred or animosity for another person, for any reason whatsoever, valid or invalid, whether we're aware of it or whether we're in self-denial, we still bring destruction to the world. By cleansing the hatred in our own hearts, we can remedy all the world's problems at once at the level of their root cause. And the meditation Yehuda gives on this is, be painfully honest. Acknowledge every person or group of people toward whom you feel anger, envy, malice, total disgust, or any combination thereof. With the light of this name, drop those negative feelings like a load of wet laundry. This is really great, and this message couldn't be more appropriate than for our guest tonight, because he does, we were just talking about this earlier before I started the show, that he really loves things that touch the heart, and his music certainly does that, and we're going to be delving into that tonight. The formal name for this name of God from Yehuda Berg is Resh Yud Yud. Okay, that's Resh Yud Yud, and the common name is removing hatred. So that's our message tonight. And again, you can find that on my page of the Main Street Universe tab on my website. And it will be there for you to review all week long. Now, a little something before we had to break here tonight. And this is just to kind of get our minds thought on the topic tonight, thinking on the topic tonight, I should say. Have you ever tried to blend different fields and practices? Did you find them to be compatible or challenging to bring together? Were the apparent differences really alignment? Oftentimes we don't put together such things as science and art. However, it seems more and more that we are finding that there isn't such a difference as we originally thought. Both are based on vibrations and patterns. Find and see the patterns, and you will also expand your knowledge. Let's take music as an example. Most of science is based on formulas, numbers, repeating sequences. Music is also founded on these very things. Timing is in numbers. The chords are in formulas, and stanzas or choruses are the repeating sequences that allows us to connect and remember melody. Now, what if we add to this aspect, the aspect of spirituality and intuition? This is exactly what Harold Grandstaff Moses is doing in his work. He has developed his own original music based through scientific aspects of how it affects the body's ability to release, heal from the emotional and mental states, to shift in a way to serve us and enhance our experiences in life. Starting by drawing in his intuition to discover what is happening with someone, then this lets him understand the type of music pattern needed for that time, and from there, healing and transformation can happen. I am loving this different approach to music, using it to heal. Not only does it draw on things like brainwave patterns, musical keys that we personally resonate with as an individual, but it blends in the intuitive insight. often people naturally will draw to different types of music at different times, situations, moods, etc. in their life. And, but why does one person's healing CD, for example, work better than another? This work or this type of work that Harold's doing may very well explain it. This is why maybe one time, his CD works, and another time Stephen Halpern's CD works, and another time Joe Matson's CD works. This is why it works that way. Sometimes we might be needing something, for example, in the key of C for a particular challenge, and the same challenge may require the key of A another time. Or one layer of the challenge may require a string instrument for the adjustment, and another layer of the challenge piano tones. Each moment of our life is unique, and so it is important to also realize that our needs are likely to be constantly shifting and changing as well. This explains why singing bowls by one artist works one time and not another, or why chanting one type of prayer works for a while and then something else is needed. This unique blending of the intuitive insight helps us fine-tune our needs for the moment. Do you have certain instruments that work for you? Have you noticed that one time something works for you and another time it hasn't? Do you have things that you can consistently go to? What musical things have you drawn to during different periods of your life and different moods that you experience? So I'm going to take a short break, and when I return, I'm going to have with us Harold Grandstaff Moses, and he's going to be sharing his work in music healing. And the song that I have for you tonight is actually one of his songs. We started off with Serenity 1, and during our break, we're going to be listening to Serenity 2. We'll be back here in just a short period of time. So I just want to welcome you back, and you are listening to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I'm your hostess this evening. The song you were just listening to is called Serenity 2. It's by our guest, Harold Gramstaff Moses. And I just also want to get a couple of quick little plugs in here, and that is a little plug for Penny Wright, who is the owner at Espresso Buono in Linwood, Washington. So if you're ever out in the North Seattle area, go check out her great little shop. It's a great little shop, and she just was really helping me out today. So I want to say thank you so much. One of those ones that I look at, like the old, unique bookshops that are tiny and quaint and unique. And also a special thanks to Third Place Books, which is where I am broadcasting from tonight in the Seattle, Washington area. They're also in the North Seattle region. So if you're ever out that way, check them out. They're a really great bookstore, and they've got all kinds of things happening around here. So fun to be here and broadcasting from the road with you. I'd like to bring up my guest tonight, Harold Gramstaff Moses, also known as H.G. Moses. You might hear me refer to him as H.G. along the way during the show. And he focuses on music healing through heart-centered communication. He is a composer, musician, inventor, scientist, and vibrational theorist. Harold uses harmonic engineering to produce an auditory experience with overtones, encouraging an instantaneous relaxation response. This creates highly modified states of consciousness, which include feeling more centered, relaxed, creative, content, and connected. Or I should say content. That's not content, but content. He is the director of the Institute of Harmonic Science, which does research on the vibrational stimulation of humans and materials. Harold's work with the Institute has found that particular harmonic overtones influence the parasympathetic nervous system while modifying the conscious state. And I want to emphasize that parasympathetic nervous system, that's a huge thing when we're talking intuition in our bodies, connection with divine spirit, and heart-centered space. This has resulted in things such as a lowering of blood pressure, slowing of breath, calming of the mind, synchronized heart-mind response, and an expanding sense of awareness. We will be looking at Harold's work tonight in music healing through heart-centered communication. And you can certainly learn more about his work at www.hgmoses.com, and that is at the bottom of our show description as well. And HG, I would love to welcome you to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here.
And, you know, it's such a pleasure because you contacted me a while back, and I'm kind of like, what's going on with this guy and what's happening here? And you actually came to me because you're connected with Jill Matson, and we've had her on the show as well before.
Yes, and you and I are Facebook friends.
We are connected that way, and it was great when I had that little chance to talk with you, and I thought, wow, here's a person that's doing something really unique and really different than just the standard, music healing type things, like just operating at certain megahertz and things like that. So I'm going to give you a chance to start off by sharing with us, who is HG? Who is Harold Gramstaff, and how did you get into all of this work that you're doing?
Well, I begin by saying I'm a fairly reclusive scientist. I've been involved in harmonic research for a number of years, almost 20 years now. And when I began working with harmonic overtones, it was because I was playing viola music with a tabla player in an Indian restaurant, and I started to learn about improvisation pretty heavily then. But at the same time, I was listening to the sound of the tambura, which begins all Indian music, and I heard this interval of the perfect fifth, which, of course, I knew in classical music very well, but I understood it in a new way, and I understood why the Indians said that the perfect fifth is the breath of God. And the reason the tambura begins all classical Indian music and ends all Indian music is because it is the breath of God from which everything is painted. So when the musician comes in, they're painting on that breath. I made a recording with synthesis utilizing the interval of a perfect fifth, and I listened on ear canal headphones for 6 months. If I were with people, I'd simply turn the volume down or pull the headphones out a little bit, but 24/7 for 6 months, and I started to hear things and understand things and intuit things. And that began my passion for the last 20 years of unlocking how it is that harmonic overtones affect consciousness, affect the heart, and create a state of vibrational well-being.
I find that really interesting, and to have it particularly connect to the heart aspect and to find that well-being. It's just powerful, and it's interesting that you drew on the Indian music influence, because we know that, at least I know from my friends who are Indian, and I've been blessed with some traditional Indian music CDs that were sacred prayers, and really their music is based on those sacred prayers, which, as we know, tuning into that space definitely connects us. And for me, the heart-centered place has always been the connection between heaven and earth, so to say.
Well, I think that, we live in a world right now where frequency is being used consciously. And that's an exciting time. Naturally, most of it is going to be used for the purpose of making money. People are already figuring out how to sell frequencies, how to package frequencies, how to get frequencies to trigger things in the body. My approach to frequency was always one based on the beauty of music. I was classically trained musician. My mother's a concert pianist who's just retired. She's 83. And my earliest memories are being in her lap while she was singing to me, and I was listening to the sound of her music. And I literally grew up under a grand piano. That's where I went to sleep every night until, probably around age 12, 13. I was always under the piano falling asleep. So I got bathed in sound, and, the sound of great classics. But something about improvisation got into my soul. And I had been assistant principal violist of the Denver Symphony for 8 years. I joke sometimes that that's 54 years to a dog, and it was a long time to be in that position. I found, ironically, that after I had been there for that amount of time, there were very few performances that actually stirred my soul. I left that, went into sales and marketing. That's a whole other side of my life, being involved as a solar manufacturing company many years ago. So I've had a whole history in sales and marketing. I don't seem to apply it to my own recordings. But just to say, by the way, for anyone who is interested in recordings, there's a link that is posted. Is that correct? Or should I just have people contact me through Facebook?
Yeah, definitely. I think people should contact you through Facebook for that link, and they should, friend you, and they should stay on top of
I have a lot of free music that I give away, certainly in terms of harmonic overtones, because I'm always interested in people's reaction. So just to say that I have this whole background in classical music, professional symphony orchestra musician, and something came alive in my heart when I started improvising. I really loved it. I actually got into improvisation, playing as a musician in the Dances of Universal Peace in Boulder, Colorado, and in Denver. There was quite a large Dances of Universal Peace community. I played there with a tabla player and the leader who played guitar. And I learned all about improvisation, and then started playing at the Indian restaurant, got into the fifth, and began listening to these harmonic overtones that were happening. And I really just fell in love with how they made me feel. I had transcendent experiences in this listening over a period of time, 6 months, to this recording that I had that at the time was called The Drone, long before the military ruined the word. The drone is a recording of the interval of the perfect fifth played on a synthesizer for 60 minutes. And yet inside of those two notes being played, you will hear so much harmonic activity. There's a place where it sounds like a trombone, a place where it sounds like people chanting, where there's a choir coming in, a violin, a flute. All of these artifacts of the overtones that are dancing with one another. And they enchanted me, and I found them to be remarkable for my state of consciousness.
Well, let's give people a little taste of this. You brought up the drone, and we have that music sample loaded into our system here tonight. So let's give people a little sound of that. Now, is there something that they should be listening to, or when they hear this, what is this really going to do for them?
One thing I'll say is because we're listening over Internet radio, there may be a lot of things that aren't heard, and the easiest way to really listen is to go to this link, which I'm going to post on my Facebook page in just a few minutes here, that says how you can download free samples of my harmonics. There's 6 sets of 7-minute samples, and they would be best downloaded because harmonics are very subtle. They have a lot of high frequencies, and it could be lost over the Internet. However, what most people will experience when they listen to this interval of the fifth is a sense of calmness, a sense of things slowing down, a greater connection with self. And it's an easy way to de-stress. It's an easy way to unwind. And I tell people, don't listen while you're driving the car, because you can really relax. I had a friend who drove 15 miles past his exit the first time he was listening. And I said, sometimes that's dangerous.
Well,
you know, Dr. Andrew Weil was the first person to say that they create a state of instantaneous relaxation response. So it's a great way to relax, but we've discovered it does a whole lot more. But let's listen to a sample and just see what effect it has for the people who are listening.
Okay, here we go. So that's kind of a little sample there, and that was again called the drone. I didn't go the full 7 minutes on that sample.
No, that's
but
fine.
It gives people a good idea. I mean, when I hear this is like, it's a lot like when I play my singing bowl. I mean, I know you've got a whole realm of things way beyond what my singing bowl was doing, but it's got that same meditative feel to me. It's got that same
it does
serenity.
It does create a meditative field. Just, and singing bowls create meditative fields. Overtones are rich in singing bowls. That's one of the reasons they create such a meditative state, because there's so many things happening in the overtone array. Bells and bowls have different, they favor different overtones than string instruments, for instance. So the overtones can create tremendous response in the entire body, mind, spirit. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about harmonic overtones.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I work with my singing bowl, but when I listen to your music, it's like I love it because I get to sit back and receive it. And it works so effectively for me on there.
That's very good. I think that's one of the qualifiers of heart music. Is it easy to receive? Heart music should not be difficult to get in. It should be simple. And frankly, there's nothing that's simpler than the interval of the perfect fifth. There's a research that shows if people are shown pictures of Grecian urns, and they will morph them and change the dimensions so that they're not quite following the golden section, and give people a choice of which they feel is the best. And they will always pick the one that has this sacred geometry built into it, the Fibonacci series. The eye recognizes it. It's built into the eye. Harmonics are built into the mind. They're built into the ears. In fact, they're built into all the bones, muscle tissue. Our entire body recognizes harmonics, and they move through the body unrestricted and free.
And that would be a really powerful thing for people, because if we have even energetic blocks, let alone physical blocks, because the music can move unrestrictedly, it's going to very easily open those up for people and open up that flow of energy.
Absolutely. Well, I'm on the staff at Cancer Treatment Centers of America in Goodyear, Colorado. I work part-time with the mind-body department. But I have a partnership with a gentleman who's been a patient there for quite some time, and Dr. Lamb, who's the new head of the R&D division at the hospital. And we've been looking at harmonic overtones and how they can be broadcast into a person's body through a process called induction. And basically what we do is we have a device that sits against a person's body, can be held in the hand, moved around, it can be mounted stationary, but as long as your body is in contact with it, the harmonics that you normally would listen to are actually transmitted through your body. And you can feel the harmonics traversing the energy centers of the body. You can follow the Chinese meridians and find the activity. It's a very common experience to work on somebody's feet who has neuropathy, and as it's pressing into their heel, they'll oftentimes feel a rush of energy, even electricity going off in the lymph center underneath their arms. And it's because it's following the meridians, and the harmonics really stream through. So we are very excited because we're about to release a wellness product that people can simply hold on their body. And it creates, probably the easiest way to say it is, it creates space inside the body. It opens things up that have had blocked flow. And that is really powerful. And I know I've worked with the lymphatic system quite a bit for myself. And
and you work also with the parasympathetic nervous system, and those two systems basically hit everything in the body, everything that's going on for us. So we don't want to underestimate these little pieces of things that are coming through us. Now, you put out a song that is another one that is based on the harmonics, and that was titled C Sharp. Do you want to comment on that one?
Yes, I will. The harmonics have gone through a number of engineering incarnations. This is a version 3 in terms of our master mixes, ways that we manipulate the harmonics different ways. So this is, it's called C sharp because in Western tuning this is a C sharp and a G sharp. It's also harmonics, but you will hear a lot more going on because of the proprietary engineering we use to bring out the harmonic activity. It creates really heightened states of relaxation. It's great if you're like stuck, if you're in some sort of a mental block. You can put this on and usually your mind just opens up. I had an opportunity to present one of these recordings at the ICEM organization conference, the International Society for the Study of Subtle Energy and Energy Medicine. And afterwards, one lady reported, they had about 10 minutes listening in the dark to a set of harmonics. And she reported that she was frustrated because as soon as the lights went off and the tones started, she just was going through a grocery list of all the things that she needed to do. She said, I'm going to miss this whole meditation because I'm just doing nothing but thinking. And she said the next thing she knew, all the images stopped, her mind went blank, and before her, in a field of emerging stars, a rosewood lotus bloomed. And she said,
"Oh wow,
that doesn't usually happen." So the harmonics have the ability to truly create space inside the body, inside the mind, inside the spirit. I feel that they make the spiritual life somehow more expansive. They're fantastic for prayer, for meditation, for putting yourself in a quiet place, and yet ironically they're also fantastic for creation and creative work and writing and slogging through arithmetic assignments. I have so many stories about people who've bought harmonics themselves and had the album abducted by their teenager because they found it helped them study. They could keep their mind more focused. So we're finding new things that harmonics can do every day, and for the last 20 years I've been gathering all sorts of anecdotal evidence from listeners and now from patients and caregivers.
I find this absolutely fascinating because I used to use some of these things without even knowing what I was using when I was going through college and studying. And, certainly what a powerful vision for that person to get when their mind was so busy. I know when I was listening to your music, preparing for this show, that I was like, I could just listen to this forever. I could just sit and listen to this. Maybe I'll just put it on and listen to it throughout the night.
A lot of people sleep to harmonics because they are deeply relaxing, and your mind won't get real active. Let me maybe have a little caveat here. Everybody processes sound differently, and some people are very geared toward analysis of what's going on. Other people, everything is just sort of a general mixture, and they don't even think about picking out lots of detail. Some people are like classical music listeners where they can isolate every little sound. They know the difference between the flute and the piccolo by ear. So all of us process sound in a different way. What's curious is, in spite of that, the harmonics create I'm just going to call it a universal relaxation response. people slow down. Their heart rate will slow down. Their breathing will become deeper and more relaxed. Their mind will not run away from them. It really stops, the chatter of the mind.
And this is so important, particularly in these days and times where I see people really on edge, really stressed out, worrying about tons of things in their life. And one of the key ways that we turn that around and get out of that stress space and get into the spaces of faith manifestation and love and these different things is by slowing down the heart rate, by getting calm. So I love music for that sense because it can bring that immediate effect. I'm going to play a little piece of our soundtrack from C Sharp, which we have in here, and give people, since we first did the drone, to now listen in and hear the harmonics of the C Sharp and see if they can maybe pinpoint some of those differences.
If you technically have the ability to turn it up, I would go ahead and do that. I purposely do not mix these at real high levels because I don't want people to put them in their CD player and suddenly, have them at the same level as a piece of non-meditative music. It's really designed to be subtle. So I think for internet radio, why don't you go ahead and turn it up a little if that's possible?
Okay. Let's see what we can do here. Just listening there to the C Sharp, which deals in harmonics, and we are talking tonight with H.G. Moses, also known as Harold Gramstaff Moses, and so really we're doing some very interesting things tonight as his work focuses on bringing out heart-centered energy and relaxation energy. And if you've missed any part of the show so far, please go back and listen to it in the archives because there's so much wonderful stuff happening here. And HG, we were talking before the show and commenting on how this does bring you right into connecting with the feeling your heart, feeling those emotions. And you had made the comment actually that in doing that, it brings us into a state of immediately being present. And the fun thing with that is that when you're immediately present, a lot of people they sometimes struggle with the mindfulness concept of just getting totally quiet. But with what you do, they can get into that state of presence very easily, and it's a great option.
I would count myself in the numbers of people who have a difficult time quieting their mind. And that's another reason that harmonics really spoke to me, because I discovered it happened. Just every time I listened, I would just go into that space. So much of the music that I've written over the last 20 years has really been written under the influence of harmonics. Many times I'll be listening to harmonics and melodies will emerge and whole songs will just come pouring out of this, the field. The first drone, we called it the breath of God, because it was just like in Indian music, how that interval created this space upon which things could happen. And I just find it is that way. Things happen in my mind, things happen in my heart, things happen in my spirit. So I have an entire body-mind experience, body-mind-spirit experience, just listening to harmonic overtones.
It's truly powerful. I love it. And I know I won't be able to do it all the time from the road, but I definitely, from time to time when I have the opportunity, will be plugging into this and putting it on while I sleep, because especially when I'm traveling, unless I'm like camping out, where I can listen to an ocean or trees or something like that, especially like if I do happen to, stay in a hotel room or something one night, I love to have this type of music because I'm very sensitive to environments and atmospheres. And
well, it really masks a lot of background noises.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used it in places that I've had to sleep where neighbors had dogs. Sometimes when I travel in a different location, people, have pets, things like that. You hear noises you're not used to. I put on the harmonics and I fall right asleep. It just masks everything else that's going on around me.
And it would probably soothe, like if people did have pets around, it'd probably soothe those pets down a bit, I would think as well, in that. So very, very interesting. I mean, your work just fascinates me. It really does. You also do a piece of work. It's called 0 Point Technology. Can you share with us a little bit of what that's about?
That's actually, it's on my website, and I probably should take that down. I'm not doing that anymore, but it was a company that I was involved with for a while. It was a very fascinating way of infusing harmonics, infusing certain frequencies into marble and metals, so that when people have these devices, I would call them a device because marble, one of the nice things about marble is it's got lots of space to receive a lot of frequencies. So my understanding of how the product works is it's a bit like a scalar wave. It sits there and simply vibrates. The most practical use I saw for it, I mean, I know that a lot of people use it for any number of things, but you can take $3 chuck and you can turn it into about a $12, $15 bottle of wine if you let it sit there for about 20 minutes. Totally changes the taste, totally changes the resonance of the taste, if you will. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, I'm not involved in the sale of that product anymore. I am mostly, I look at a lot of vibrational products that are in the marketplace. Tuning forks, singing bowls, those are very big. The quartz bowls, and there's other products out there that use frequencies. We're in the infancy of frequencies, really. So we're going to see a lot of new things come into the marketplace, and a lot of things go out as well.
I would, given all I deal in astrology and numerology and various other things. as well. And given everything I'm looking at, this is a powerful year for musicians and people producing, particularly the types of things that you're producing, to come out. The aspects that combine the music and the healing and these factors. It seems like it's the year for it, and I think it's going to be. I think this is one of the things that we're really going to see new developments in, and I think it's one of the things that's really going to come to the forefront over the next year. So,
my initial response is the old saying, "From your mouth to God's ears," because it would be great for musicians to have that. Yes, certainly music has the ability to transform the human spirit and can do it instantaneously. We can hear a piece of music that we haven't heard for 30 years, and it can throw us right back into an experience with someone. If you think of the song you used to dance with your love in high school, when you hear that song on the radio, you are instantly transported there. I say that music is a memory magnet. It's capable of storing information. And I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by asking people in workshops to remember a song from their childhood. They're not even going to hear it except in their head. And yet by just remembering the song from their childhood, they will experience their childhood. They will see themselves as a small person. They'll see the room they're in. They'll see the teacher. It all comes back just by remembering the song.
And it's true. It does have such a powerful impact, and that comes back to what you were saying earlier about how it touches the heart. And it's true. I can hear songs today, and it takes me right back to the feelings and the emotions. Or I use actually music a lot of times when I'm doing intuitive and divining work to get insights and messages, and it automatically taps right into that heart space. It seems like it does never go away, and it's fascinating. You keep going back a couple of times. I've heard you say about the aspects of the child, just like you grew up with the falling asleep to the piano in your younger years, and this impact, particularly music, has on us as children, where we use it to teach us, we use it for a lot of different things. And I had recently written about things like that what happens to us in those younger years, 4 years old and things like that, really can oftentimes tell us where we're going to be directing our energy later in life. And some people tune right into it and go, yep, music, that's where I want to be all my life, And other people would, go, well, they step away from it and then they come back to it. But I think when we have such a big impact, it's never really going to leave us.
Well, I hope not. We need music. We need music to quantify that we're civilized. If we don't have music, I'm not sure what we are. I used to say that if I were picked up by a UFO, I would gladly board and say, take me to your composer. I want to hear what the music is like of the culture, and that will tell me so much about what's going on and whether I can trust them or not.
No, see, you just touched on a big thing right there, how much music can tell us about somebody, what they draw to, what they resonate with, things like that. I've got a song.
That is true.
I've got a song loaded into the system here tonight that is by you called LAM Prov, and I just love what's happening in this song. I just immediately had a great connection to it. We had the drone styles, we had the harmonic styles, but this is really very different from that. Maybe you can share a little bit on what this song is about, or what is happening with it.
Right, and this is LA Improv, correct?
Uh-huh, yep.
Yes. LA Improv is titled that because it is an improvisation that happened when I was in LA. I was out for a funeral of a very dear friend who died when he was in his 90s, a gentleman named Ernest Lieblich. Ernest was one of these gentlemen who brought lots of people together and created great friendships. And I wound up in the home of a recording artist and musician who had a studio, and in their upstairs they had this beautiful grand piano. And I said, my goodness, is it easy to run mics? He said, oh, yeah, it's very easy to run mics. I said, can I come over and record? He said, sure, tomorrow. So I came over, we had all the mics set up, and it was just sitting down and improvising from my feelings about this whole event of, saying goodbye to a very dear friend who had lived a very rich, amazing life. So a lot of that is in the music.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to cue this up, and this is actually a very long song. It's almost 17 minutes. And so we're going to just play a couple of minutes of it to give people a flavor of it. But I really love how it flows. Mm-hmm. That piece that we were listening to, that was just a little segment of what's called L.A. Improv, and that is from tonight's guest, H.G. Moses, also known as Harold Gramstock Moses. And if you've missed any part of the show, this is a show about musical healing and how music works to open our centers throughout our body, our vibrational energies, and allows healing to happen and occur. And I definitely encourage you, by the way, to go ahead and check out Harold's website, which is www.hgmoses.com. That's at the bottom of our show description. So you can go in and check out more things. He's also offered to connect with him. Follow him on Facebook. He has some free samples you can tap into as well, and he'll help you know where to find those and where to go with that. So I just love the variation of that, Harold, from some of the other pieces that you do and that you work with.
Well, it's a very different style for me. I do a lot of piano improvisation at Cancer Treatment Centers of America because there's a nice grand piano out there, and patients and caregivers will stop by and just sit down next to the piano, and I'll do readings for them. This was really a reading for myself, a reading for just what was going on in my own mind. I find it very relaxing. Most people I know who listen to this listen for the purpose of deep relaxation and just chilling out.
Yes, and that is true, and there's a lot of that happens. Now, you just mentioned, and you almost let it slide right in there, but you just mentioned that you do reading with music. What is that about?
I'm sorry, say the word again, that I what?
You said that you do readings with music, and this was a reading for yourself?
Right, okay. I do something called an intuitive musical reading. And that's a name that I had to come up to describe what I was doing at the hospital. Basically, for about 20 years, I've been playing music that related to what was going on for people. It started out with my children. I would be playing the piano in the room, and I could evoke music that told me what was going on inside of them and how they were feeling about things. We had a lot of fun with that, and then I lived in Boulder, Colorado for a while. I had a very interesting a gentleman who had a birthday party and said, I'm going to ask everybody to tell me what it is they're giving birth to in their life. That's my birthday gift. I want to hear what everybody's doing. And he said, do you mind just playing for a minute, just playing their music for them? So I did, 1 minute for every person, and then they talked about what they were giving birth to. Afterwards, a woman came up and she said, how did you know? And I said, oh, yeah, you were the gypsy music. I said, I never play gypsy music, so what's that all about? She said, I've been reading the diary of my great-great-great-great-grandmother, who was a gypsy girl. It's been translated from Romanian to English. So that kind of got my attention. I began to think about, well, what's going on here that I can pick that sort of stuff up? And over the years, I've honed the art in a certain way. There was a time where I would see a lot of things that were going on for people, and I decided I didn't want to do that it would be best not to know a lot of things that were going on for people. Didn't need to be privy to any information. So I really shut all of that off. But when I started working with patients at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I found that they actually wanted information, anything that came through. So I would share impressions that I had, or say, that reminded me of this, or that reminded me of that. And many patients would talk about what it was that happened during the music. The music is totally driven, in an intuitive reading, the music is totally driven by my experience of being in the presence of that person. The electromagnetic field of the human heart is 8 feet in diameter. It's shaped like a donut. It rotates. That field, when I'm sitting in someone else's field, it means that my musical gift as being able to improvise is now under the influence of the heart field of that person. And I'm continually amazed at how accurate the readings always are. They really pick up something about what's going on with that person, and we talk about those things and have amazing encounters as a result.
So now, is this something, it's sounding like it's something that you have to do live with somebody, or is this possible to do it?
It is possible to do it. It is very possible to do it remotely. It doesn't even have to involve phone. It's the type of thing, someone sends me their picture, I can do a reading for them. Maybe the question is, what is the purpose of the reading? It's not that I'm going to give you a lot of information. Whatever I intuit may be something that's quite appropriate, but it's a summary. The real gift of hearing your own reading is that every time you listen to it, it will bring new things up for you. It's somehow, I'm just going to call it, I've never used this term, but it's like a can opener for the psyche. All sorts of things come up just because you listen to it. And it will affect you, and it is infused with you. There's no question about that. The reason that music exists is because of my encounter with you.
Okay. So this is good to know. I wanted people to know that. I don't want them to be discouraged if they're not sitting in the same region as you are with things.
Right. Now, I have 350 of these readings posted on YouTube, and all you have to do to find them is type in Harold Moses CTCA, and you will be able to go to my page, and there's a great number of readings, so you'll get a sample of what it's like to do a reading on viola.
Very nice. Very nice. I just think this is an interesting blend, bringing that intuitive reading aspect in to the to this whole work. It's just a piece that I don't see very often come through. So I definitely find that powerful aspect. And I remember when we first connected, you did a little reading for me by the phone to give me an idea, and it's very intriguing. It's a very pure channel.
Well, I hesitate to use the word channel because I don't know what it means, really. It's used in a lot of ways. So I will say this, that every person we encounter has their own unique vibrational signature. We're all made of the same basic stuff. My hydrogen and your hydrogen sound identical. My oxygen sounds exactly like your oxygen. But there's something about the makeup of who we are. We are a harmonically unique vibrational signature of the divine. I have things that are similar to you in certain ways and things that are dissimilar to you. I think in certain ways all encounters we have with everyone is going through this conscious comparison of vibrational signature. We may not think of it in that way. We may call it something else, but in the end, we're all involved in complex analysis based on feelings of sympathy or dissonance.
Mm. Yeah, and very well explained. Very, very well explained, and it just kind of goes to show that's another one of those examples of how we're all alike and we're all very unique and very different in what we do. So, and you may have touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on this. How do different instruments and sounds heal us, or why use the piano one time and the viola another time? Are they aligned to certain?
The simple answer to why I use piano or viola has to do with availability. I love doing piano improvisations because there's so much variety available in terms of chords and creating lots of moods. But, I also love doing viola. Really, it has much to do with where I'm at, and if there's no piano available, I'm probably going to do viola. But it can be, I believe that the intuitive interpretation of someone's energy field is accomplished by many people. I think that artists have the ability to do that. some photographers, have the ability. We joke sometimes about the camera capturing our soul, but there are photographers who seem to have that ability. They create amazing, an amazing amount of information in one little piece, and we get it. We feel that person. We feel as if we know that person. So this kind of stuff goes on all the time. I'm very lucky to be able to do it in the world of music, and it's one of the great joys of my life. And one reason for that is because I get to play new music all the time.
and that seems to be a good thing. Now, another song that we have loaded into our system to share tonight is called Love Dreaming. So give us some insight on what that song is all about, what's happening with it.
Sure, I would be happy to share that. Love Streaming was originally recorded on a CD called Edges of the Soul. Edges of the Soul is definitely my best-selling CD, although it was a complete independent release. Edges of the Soul really describes the journey of the human soul from the beginning to the end of a person's life. And there is a section called Love Streaming, and Love Streaming really is about the guiding light of love, the idea that love streams through the cosmos, that we, from my perspective as what I call being a vibrationalist, I believe that matter does not vibrate, rather vibration matters. It is vibration that causes matter to precipitate because of the field of harmony. So this love streaming, the idea is that we are in fact harmony. Love can be described as locally optimized vibrational entanglement. We are love, and the love that animates us and causes us to be is streaming through the entire cosmos. So this song is about that. This happens to be a great song for weddings. So I'll share that with you as we listen. But it is really a statement about the beauty of love that comes through.
And you know what? It does come through in this song. Matter of fact, when I first played this, and I'm going through the music, and I was listening to this during the preparation for the show, I actually had to get my friend, who I'm staying with while I'm here in the Seattle area, to come and listen to it. I'm like, you have to come and listen to this song.
That's very beautiful. Thank you.
And, this, I think, is a powerful one for people right now because there's something going on astrologically that I call the relationship roller coaster right now. So that's where we're seeing a lot of highs and lows happening in relationships. And I was listening to the song, and I was just like, I think I need to send this to every client that I have right now because it just settles down that relationship roller coaster that seems to be rolling through the air right now. But it is a really beautiful piece, and I'm going to actually let this play for a little bit because I think it's going to touch a lot of hearts out there.
Oh, very, very good. Thank you so much. It's one of my favorite pieces still.
This, for our listeners again, is Love Streaming. We are with H.G. Moses tonight, also known as Charles Bramstaff Moses, and learning all about his work in intuitive music, readings, as well as musical healing. And this is Love Streaming. And we've been listening to Love Streaming, which is done by tonight's guest, H.G. Moses, also known as Harold Grandstaff Moses. Just a beautiful piece. I could just sit and listen to that and just let it, just hit the continuous play on it and listen to it. Absolutely love that work in there. So, Harold, tell us a little bit about anything that you have going on, maybe ways that people can connect with you, ways that maybe someplace you're going to be out and about and doing things. And
well,
I know you've got
anyone...
the CDs being released, too, with Serenity. We started to mention that early in the show, and definitely bring that up again, too, because that's a big project.
The easiest way to connect with me is either by email, and that's hgmoses@gmail.com, or on Facebook, it's Harold Grandstaff Moses, Grandstaff, my grandfather's name, Harold Grandstaff Moses, and that is, I post many interesting articles on science. The very first article you'll see tonight is a link for where you can download and listen to all of the music from Serenity, my new CD with Michael Hoppe.
Beautiful, beautiful. And tell us a little bit more about the Serenity series. Again, that's, and tell us about Michael. There's something there, too, with Michael and why that's a special project for you.
Well, Michael Hoppe is really a very beautiful musician. I've known Michael, oh my goodness, I don't know how many years I've known Michael, maybe 10 years. I was on a CD that he did a long time ago just as an ancillary musician, but I met Michael in Los Angeles. And very sensitive, loving, beautiful man, and he writes lovely music. And one day, not too long ago, we were sitting together in his living room, and he said, let's record. So it was just an improvisation. The entire CD was just music that we improvised in the moment. I had no idea what the next chord would be. I only knew what key we were going to be in, and I would tune my viola to that key, and we were off and running.
Wow. Now, I think it's a beautiful CD. It really is, and I highly encourage people to go and check this out and to connect with you and listen to it for themselves outside of Blog Talk, and to share this show as well with other people so they can come in and get an idea of your work that you're doing, your music that you're doing, because this is truly unique. It's very evolved. People that don't have patience for a lot of things, who have the trouble with the mindfulness, these things, they're going to be able to get some of these experiences that they've struggled with by working with your music, I would say, because it just happens that effectively and that quickly. Now, are you ever out anywhere live where people can connect with you?
I am live, once again, in the Phoenix area. Every Monday evening, I host an event in my home called Higher Vibrations, and I've written all sorts of music that is designed for spontaneous choirs, people who show up, who love to sing. We teach some very simple rules about how to improvise quickly, and if we have 25 people in the room, we have 25 parts going at once, and they all fit together, and they all sound beautiful, and people enter very deep states of meditation and relaxation and awareness. So that's every Monday evening at 6:30. And you, once again, if you contact me at hgmoses@gmail, I can tell you about that. That's an outreach of the Institute of Harmonic Science. Also, nearly every Tuesday, I am in the lobby at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and I do intuitive readings for anybody who walks by. So if you choose to come out to the hospital on a Tuesday afternoon from like 2 to 5, I am playing at the piano in the lobby, and you are welcome to come by for your own personal musical reading.
Very cool. I'm going to end up as far as I know right now, I'll be touring through Arizona come December, and if I'm available, I'm coming.
Well, absolutely.
If my schedule permits, I want to come get a reading. I want to come experience what you're doing live. I think
would
that
love
would
you
just
to
be
experience
phenomenal.
that.
I think it would just be phenomenal to have the opportunity to do that and to go through that. Like I said, I was just taken back. When you first contacted me, I thought, okay, got some more people doing healing work and stuff. But your work, I have to say, is truly unique, and it brings in components that I have not found with other people out there. And if anybody has missed this show tonight at all, we've been talking with H.G. Moses, also known as Harold Graham-Staff Moses, and we've been listening to his music and his work. And I encourage you to go back and listen in the archives because you don't want to miss any part of the show. You don't want to miss the music that he's sharing and what he's doing here with this. Now, most people know that this show, ordinarily here on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour, we do run 2 hours. I'm a little pressed under time tonight, where I have to close the show down a little bit earlier than normal, just due to the time restrictions of where I'm broadcasting from tonight. But Harold, if you could leave our listeners with any kind of thought or message, what would that be?
Well, that's very, very simple, actually. Listen to the music that you love. If you have a piece of music that when you go to it you get goosebumps, McGill University discovered the reason you're getting goosebumps is because the pleasure center of your brain is experiencing a cascade of neural fireworks. And when that happens, your brain is being given doses of dopamine manufactured by you. So it is the most amazing way to feel good, to put yourself in a place of deep de-stressing and relaxation. Listen to the music you love.
Wonderful, and just a great summary to the evening and to what we've been sharing here tonight. And again, I definitely encourage people to look up your work, and we're going to be closing out tonight once we get to that closing point with Serenity 3, so we have another song coming. Don't go away because you want to listen and you want to take in this and let it come in and open, as you say, open and clear, and move through you and let that vibration come through. You know, Harold, it has been really a pleasure to have you on the show tonight. And I have to say, I so appreciate all your flexibility with me this week while I've been up and down and having to make shifts and changes and everything along the way. And I have to say, in dealing with you, you have been an amazing person to deal with, calm, just a gift to me this week. So thank you for that.
Well, it was a great delight to speak with you, and I hope we can do it again.
I would look forward to it. Definitely, you keep me posted on any new work you have coming out, and we will do that.
Very good.
And again, I want to encourage people, if they've missed any part of the show, go back, listen to it in the archives, share it with people that you know, friends, family, whatever, because, if they're struggling with something as simple as a piece from our guest tonight could bring a healing remedy for them, could change their life, could make a difference for them. And what could be simpler than having it in the background, giving you a peaceful, restful night of sleep? I mean, that's a very, very powerful thing. I also want to mention, again, thank you to Third Place Books, who has allowed me to broadcast from their store tonight and who has provided a wonderful space. If you're in the northern Seattle area, please go check them out and look them up and come in and see what they've got going on here. I also want to thank everybody who has been supporting me for the last 2 years. This week was my 2-year anniversary here on Main Street Universe with my show Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. And I do have some shifts and changes going on, so I hope you'll stay tuned with me, and I hope you'll keep up with me because we may start doing the show more regularly at an early time slot. So it will open it up for more people to catch the show live as well, just the shifts and changes, like I said, where I am now touring full-time on the road. We're going to be making those shifts. So be patient with me while we kind of play around a little bit and find the right time slot that's going to work here as we make these adjustments. Next week on the show, I have Stands with Bear, who will be sharing his work as a starseed and in DNA reconstructuring. So this is going to be a very interesting show. Some of you might remember Stands with Bear. He was on when I was doing Earth Goddess Rising kind of potpourri of speakers, and he was one of the ones that came on with that. So he's a fascinating person, also creates his own music. We're doing like a triple series of musicians here. You don't want to miss him. He is a pistol full of energy, to say it mildly. And if you are into starseed things at all, you're going to want to tune in to him. My books, again, on relationships have been released, and if you show up on my tour, I do have some of those with me, as well as you can simply go to my website, JessieAnnNicholsGeorge1.com, and the relationship books are designed to help you activate the perfect relationship for you. You'll learn how to find, develop, and maintain that perfect relationship, and as well as learning how to understand what your partner is thinking, feeling, needing, and how to communicate in ways to strengthen your relationship and avoid the drama that goes along with it. This is a powerful concept. I deal in a concept of masculine and feminine energies as opposed to just straight men and women or male-female energies in that. So it's really fun to check that out. I've got several events. Like I said, I'm on tour right now through the end of the year. You can catch me probably somewhere that I'm going to be because I'm going to be all over the country. I'm in Seattle right now through this weekend. I'm headed out to the Black Hills of South Dakota, then to Illinois, then all over the East Coast Range, and then I'm going to be circling back around through the South, hitting Atlanta, Georgia area, and going into San Antonio, Texas. And I'm working on creating some things in the Arizona region. And I will be finishing out the year, ironically, in what used to be my hometown, which is the Zion National Park area for the winter solstice. And then we'll be rounding it up and getting ready to, I might take a couple of months break in there before I head out back on tour again after the beginning of the year. But watch for it. I'm going to be coming around everywhere. So you can definitely find a way to connect with me. And September's special deal, by the way, is if you register for any full 1 or 2 day event, and it doesn't matter where that event is, you will receive all 4 of my ebooks absolutely free. So that's quite a deal. That's a great deal. That's a good, I don't know, somewhere around a $40 value or something like that. So it's definitely worth it. And if you already have the books, you can gift them out to somebody else. Don't forget, we've got several shows here on Main Street Universe throughout the week. Sunday nights, we have Darren Bouquet, who's a reader at Madame Laveau in New Orleans, doing spiritual insights. Monday nights is Randy Goldberg doing Vedic astrology. Tuesdays, we have Susan Weed, who's sharing her work in herbs and natural plants. Wednesday nights, our flagship show with Daniel and Janice on, and they do all kinds of different things from guests to readings and topics and just all kinds of fun different things. Thursdays, we oftentimes have Queen Mother Amaku on. Janice, by the way, is going to be doing her own show on our network as well, so that's something to pay attention to. Oftentimes, Fridays during the day, we have Kevin Baird walking on the sidewalk, working with his Horizon Oracle Journeys deck, a deck he created, and you can learn more about that at templeofgaia.com. And, of course, Friday night is Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. Hey, this is Jessie Ann Nichols George. I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. And again, thank you to all of our listeners, not only on Blog Talk Radio, but those streaming live through PEN, also known as Pair Encounters Network, StreamFinder, and TalkStream Live, as well as those catching our podcast at iTunes and TuneIn.com, and those catching the YouTube version of our show. I look forward to seeing you back here next week as we delve more into activating compassion. Hey, don't forget, if you've enjoyed the show this evening, share it with others. It's going to be available at the same link in our archives. And I'm going to leave you tonight with, like I said, the third song in that Serenity series, Serenity 3, and that is done by our guest, H.G. Moses, also known as Harold Gramstaff Moses. And, that really kind of wraps us up for everything. And I want to thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you again next week right here on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. So you have an enjoyable rest of your weekend and an absolutely amazing week.